Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be making a patriotic ruffled wreath. So I have a Dollar Tree wreath form. I'm going to be wrapping it with this solid blue ribbon, covering the whole thing so I can glue on the ruffles. I'm going to be using these two ribbons to make the ruffles and glue them on, and then at the end I'll add a bow, and I'll probably use this 1.5 inches with that as well. So first we'll wrap this, but let me explain. When you make a ruffled ribbon wreath, the wire that is coming out of it, we're going to be pulling to create the ruffle. So I hold onto the wire and I just gather. I'm going to be gathering up all of the ribbon like that, and then we'll be gluing it on. So I'm going to set these aside, and the first thing you're going to want to do is just wrap the wreath form with any kind of just matching like solid. Doesn't even have to be perfect. It should be covered completely at the end. Okay, so I am going to be putting the cut end under the wreath form. I'm going to put some glue here, and I'm just going to flap it over like that and glue it, and then start wrapping. Just a little bit of glue. It really doesn't matter if you start on the outer edge, middle, front. I just picked a spot and I'm starting. We're going to wrap it. And I'm actually going to roll this back up. Makes it a lot easier. And you just want to kind of keep it snug, but you can kind of pull it as you go. This is the easy part. Well, it's all easy, but this is the easiest part. And it doesn't matter if you have wrinkles in it. It's not going to show, doesn't matter. Biggest thing is just make sure it's wrapped snugly around the wreath form. So I'm just going to keep going all the way around the whole wreath form until I get to this end, and then again I'm just going to cut it and glue it on the back side so it doesn't show. Okay, so I'm on my very end. I'm going to snip a little bit. Set that aside, and I'm just going to fold it over, and then on the back side I'm just going to glue it down. Alright, so we wrapped it. Now we're going to add the ruffle. This is the part, it's easy, just takes time. So for this style wreath, I'm going to be doing the stripes all the way around the back, and then the stars I'm going to layer on top after. So we're going to start with this ribbon. And like I said, you're going to leave the wire in one end, and it doesn't matter. We're going to find one side. I'm going to kind of hold on to it. And you can always hold on to it like with pliers if you want. And you just slowly gather your ribbon. Takes a little bit of time, but it's not difficult. So we're going to do that. I started with full 10-yard bolts because I'm not sure exactly how much ribbon I'll need, but I don't want to run out. The biggest thing would be don't like yank it too hard to where you snap your wire, especially if you're using like a cheaper type of ribbon. They don't have as strong of wire. Good thing about our ribbon is it's better quality, so I'm not too worried. So yeah, that's how it should start looking. And once I ruffle it all, we're going to glue it around onto here. So I'm just going to keep doing this until I have a decent amount ruffled. That way I don't have to keep stopping and re-ruffling more. Okay, so I figured out I need about 1 yard worth of ruffle to make it all the way around. And if you are using the same wreath form I am, these the two center rows are raised up, and the back and the front ones are lower. So I'm going to be gluing this stripe one onto the outer ring that is raised up, not this one that's lower. I hope that helps. Like, not this one, but I'm going to glue it right here. And then my blue star, I'm going to be gluing to the front smaller ring. So I've ruffled, and of course, when you get to the end, this could start slipping. So I usually fold the backside under, and I'm going to put some glue here so that it's not going to unruffle. I hope that makes sense. So we're going to add a little bit of glue. And just glue it down onto itself. Then I can snip all this wire off. And I left about, I don't know, a little bit more than ½ an inch. I'm just going to fold it down onto itself. Just because for some weird reason I don't want to like pull on this and it slide through and unruffle. I've gathered enough fabric now, I'm paranoid. Okay, so it doesn't matter where you start on this. I'm just going to pick a point. I'm going to add glue here and just glue it directly onto the frame. So you just want to run it on the back side of the ribbon. I'll try it both ways and I'll see what's easier. So you have the glue on that, and I just push it down onto that ring. Hold it for a couple seconds. And then the outer edge, because it does have the wire, you can always use your finger to make more noticeable ruffles. Hope that makes sense. Let that dry. Okay, now I'm going to try, it might be even easier. I'm going to try adding the glue just directly onto that ring, and then I'll just push the ribbon down onto it. I think that's going to be less of a headache. It's much easier that way. So I'm going to push that on. I'm going to hold it down. I don't want anything loose. So I'm going to push on it, and then I'm going to kind of just fix the outer ruffle so it looks more predominant. Oh, it looks so cute. Just keep going along that same ring. This is one of the easiest wreaths you can make. I love it. Keep going. And this is another thing that would hold up well over time. Because of the wired ribbon, you can reshape it every year. And kind of like if this all gets flattened, you can just re-ruffle it on the outer edge and make it look great year after year. Just don't burn your finger. So on our website, it's shopdesignerdiy.com. we have several different collections that we've put together where it's 3 bolts of ribbon. This would be a great example of something that you could make using that collection. And we usually make a ton for every season, every holiday. It just makes it easier when you're trying to color match. And I think most of them are sets of 3. And they're super cute. Some are 4-inch. You could always use the 4-inch for this back ruffle and the 2.5-inch in the front. For this one, I'm doing 2 that are 2.5-inch. All right, so I'm just gonna finish this up. I'm gonna overlap it slightly when I get to the end and then cut it, and I will probably glue the cut edge under again. I don't like it when the cut edge shows. And if you can tell, it kind of had flattened out here. My ruffle kind of spread. So I'm just going to pull this direction from my bolt and get the fabric back down the other end of the wire. I'm just going to run my hand down and kind of just pull the ribbon back that way. And I will be gluing this down before I cut it, because if I just cut it, the ruffle it'll unruffle. So I'm gonna get it finished up first. Push this down on it. That way it doesn't go anywhere when I cut the ribbon. All right. So I'm just going to cut here. Save this for the bow. And I'm just going to fold the cut edge under and add just a little bit of glue. It won't even be noticeable because once we add the other ribbon on this, you won't even be able to tell where the seam is. All right, so that's the first layer. And I'm going to start ruffling this ribbon the same way I did this one. And we're going to be gluing it on this smaller inner ring that's a little bit lower. So pause the video here and start ruffling your second ribbon. Okay, so I have ruffled this one. And again, I made a 1 yard length of ruffle. I'm not going to need that much because it is a little bit smaller of a ring. So I'm going to, again, I'm gonna fold this flap behind and glue it. Just like that. Then I'm gonna snip the wire, leave a little bit, and I'm gonna fold it just underneath. Of the wire. All right, so I do not want, this is where the seam is. I don't want to put them right on top of each other. So I'm going to start this next layer here. This is where the seam is on this one. Technically, I don't think you would ever notice, but it's my OCD. Okay, so again, I'm going to add a little bit of glue just directly onto this. And just push this. And I do not want this ribbon showing. So I am gluing it as far on that inner edge as I can. Hold it down real good. Don't accidentally glue it to the table. And see, so this ruffle covers where this one is glued. All right. So we're just going to add some more glue just on the inside. Carefully push this down. Love this ribbon. So cute. I'm going to hold that there. I'm going to fix some of these ruffles. And this style of wreath looks amazing too if you even just use like a solid natural or a solid denim ribbon. You can just add any bows you want. Got a little bit of glue underneath. Don't want to glue it to my table. Keep going all the way around. And then again, when I get back to this end, I'm just going to overlap it slightly. I'm going to glue the cut edge underneath, and I'm going to glue it down before I cut it off the bolt. Grab a glue stick. Now, if for some reason your edge of your wreath, like the covered part, is showing, you could take like a 3/8 ribbon or some kind of narrow grosgrain ribbon, like a red or red and white stripe for mine example, and you could always glue it down just along here, or you could do probably like a rope, like the roping type of ribbon. That would be really cute too, like a red and white striped rope around it. Push it down. I love the way this is looking. We're almost done. Hold it down. Okay, so I'm getting down to the end. Again, I'm going to pull this ribbon just in case some of the ruffle gave way. Okay, so I'm going to glue the rest of it down. Make sure it is dried really good. And I'm going to cut the ribbon here. Set that aside. And again, I'm just going to fold the cut edge under and just glue it. All right, so this, you could totally just hang this on your door as is. Super cute. We are going to be adding a bow. I have some of our floral wire. They come in 1 yard pieces, so I folded it in half so it created a little loop here. When I make each layer of the bow, I do this like a slip knot. That way I don't have to hold all the layers together. So I think, let's see here. Now we have more in-depth tutorials for our bows. So I'm not going to go too detailed, but I'll give you the quick, I'm going to figure out how long I want my tail. And this is where I'll gather to make the center. This will end up the center because this will be a tail. Now I'm going to measure kind of how big I want a loop. So this is when it's completely up to your style. You can make a big, huge bow and do multiple layers. I'm going to do it a little bit smaller, and I'm just going to be using these two, I think. I do have 1.5 inches just in case I change my mind. Okay, so let me see if you were going to do it exactly how I'm doing it. Okay, so this is going to be a 9-inch length right here, thumb to thumb. That's going to create my loop. Actually, let's make it 10. I'm going to do 10 inches. Gather it. Okay. And once you make more bows, you'll be able to just eyeball and make the loops the same, or you can, when you're holding it, you can measure it to make sure, oh, another 10 inches, like that. So I am going to be doing 2 loops on each side. So I'm going to gather this here. So now I have 2 loops and a tail. I'm going to make a loop here. Again, you can measure out your 10 inches if you want. I just try to eyeball it to make sure the loops are the same. Let me gather it here. And then make a loop on that side. Make sure they're about the same size. And this is going to go downward. So I'm going to gather it. So that'll be my tail. Okay, I'll cut it after. But first I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to slide the loop so it's on top of the bow and bring the ends around the bottom side. Find my 2 ends. I'm going to put them through the little loop so I can just tighten it like a slip knot. And it is up to you. Everyone makes bows different. For this one, I'm starting with the back layer basically so I could see how big I wanted it. Sometimes I start with the front layer, but since I started with the back, I'm going to tie this wire, just a single knot on top. That way when I make the next layer, I can add it right onto that and use the same wire to tie. So I'm going to cut myself loose from the bolts. Go. And then I might cut these shorter after, but I just didn't want to make them too short to start off with. All right. Now for the next layer. Let me see. I want a lot of the stars to show. Not the stars, the stripes. I'm bad. Sorry. Okay. I want most of the stripes to show. So for this top layer, I'm going to do 1 loop on each side. That way there's 2 loops of stripe coming from behind it. So I'm going to measure out the same length of tail, and I'm going to gather here. I'm going to make a slightly smaller loop. And like I said, this, where my thumb is going to be the center, so I know to kind of gauge it. Oh, that's going to be my center. This is how big I want my loop. So I'm going to bunch it there. And then this part is going to be the loop on the other side. Okay. So I have my wire here. I'm just going to lay this directly onto it and use the same wire to tie. this, well, first let me cut my end. This is where I can kind of double check the bow, make sure the loops are all the same size. Because I didn't tie it super tight here, I could always make this a little bigger, or I could pull a tail and make the loop a little smaller. You can kind of adjust it if you need to. Okay, so once I am happy with how it looks, pull it nice and snug. I'm going to bring both wires to the back of the bow and double knot. Now every bow is different. This little wire, it blends in so well you can't even see it, but if for some weird reason you can see your center, you can always use like a thinner, narrower piece, and you can glue this around the center. I'll probably do that just because it's super cute. Love the glitter. Let me shove this through. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap that around the center. And I have my wire still attached on this side and this side, and I'm going to glue down the center, covering that double knot we made. Just add a little bit of glue. Let me get my glue gun going. Just a little bit of glue to one flap. Glue it down onto itself. Just like that. And then I'm going to add some glue there. Flap that down. And then I'm going to use this wire to tie it directly onto my wreath. And I'm going to pick where this front seam is, just so it's for sure covered. You don't have to do that, but I'm going to tie this. You could also cut your wire and just glue it if you wanted, which I'm trying to think. I am going to do that because you'll see, because of the ruffle, if I tie it, it's going to pull that ruffle back. So I'm going to snip my wire off, no turning back, and I'm just going to glue my bow directly onto the wreath. Oh my goodness, I made the seam so good I can't tell where it is. Oh, there it is. See, it's hard to tell. Alright, so I'm going to figure out where I want my bow. I want it kind of high in the corner, I think. And this is another thing. You could have your bow so it's coming out the bottom of your wreath. You could have it so it's coming out the top of your wreath. Well, that's really cute too. Alright, well, I'm going to do the top center because I kind of like how it looks. So if you do yours a different way, send me a picture, I want to see. So I'm just adding a bunch of glue to the back of the bow, and I'm just going to push it directly onto the ribbon. Hold it there, I kind of used a lot, so hold it there so it dries really good. Oh, I love this. I'm so happy. Apply good pressure. I don't want my bow to wobble at all. Okay, so I'm going to leave my tails the length that they are because I'm probably going to kind of ruffle them. So I'm going to go ahead and dovetail the ends. And I'm always using fray check on the ends of my ribbon. It's just a clear gloss, and it will seal the edges so they don't fray. So I just dab a little bit along the edge. You can see the dark part. Just like that, and after like a minute it dries clear, it's not sticky. Just kind of keeps your ribbon looking nice longer. And I kind of go up the sides of the ribbon a little bit too, so the strands that are holding the wire in don't get all fuzzy. Again, I don't know if anybody else other than me ever notices that. All right, so there is that. I'm gonna add a little bit of ruffle to the tails. And see how easy that was? Oh, I love it. All right, there you go. It's ready to hang on your door. You could hang it directly on a hook, or if you wanted, you could add a cute piece of twine or ribbon onto the back. But yeah, I hope you loved our tutorial. Make sure to check out our website for more that are for sale, or we have some different ones on YouTube. Shopdesignerdiy.com. You can get all your materials. And yeah, have a great day and happy crafting.